might mute that. Hi, I'm Matt.
I'm Dave.
And welcome to today's live session. And in today's live session, we are going to be discussing the eBay updates, not only the eBay US updates, but also the eBay UK updates. And a very important thing for both myself and Dave is for you to get involved in this conversation about the eBay updates for spring 2018. I can make sure I get my dates right because they've literally just come out in the past couple of days. And there's also another topic which I'm dying for us to discuss, which is about eBay doing something in Australia, which we'll get to in a few moments' time as well. Absolutely. Well, I am not surprised that they have done it. They have also done it at the right time, but you'll find out about that in a few moments' time. So with that said, just a little bit of general housekeeping. If you have any questions as we go along, you can ask on the right-hand side of your screen in the live chat box. Now, if you're using an iPad or an iPhone, if you click in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen for live chat, that will bring up the chat box and you can join in. And of course, remember, if you are watching the recorded version of this, you can ask any questions or comments down in the comment section underneath this video, or go and join us over in the Facebook group. And there'll be a link to that in the video description for you. So with that said, like we said, we were chatting about the eBay updates. Now, Dave, I want to go off topic like almost straight away. And the reason why I want to go off topic straight away is because this one was like slips in, right? You had eBay UK updates, you had ebay.com updates, and then they slipped it in. What did they slip in, Dave?
Are you talking about Australia?
We can't hear you at the moment. You're kind of muted, sir.
I shouldn't be. Hello?
I may have muted you too much.
Oh, right, okay.
Sorry, Dave, it wasn't muted at all. I'll be quiet now.
Are you talking about Australia? Yeah. So, yes, this was news that I only got made aware of last night from a friend of ours over in Australia, Reese. Thank you, sir, once again. And this was news that actually eBay Australia has, for all intents and purposes, banned third-party fulfillment services when selling items to eBay customers. Now, they are quite general. It does mention all third-party fulfillment companies, but it seems to me like a direct swipe at Amazon. You could tell as much because this is actually one of the first instances that I can remember where eBay have actually mentioned Amazon by name. This often doesn't happen. eBay don't really talk about Amazon. Amazon don't really talk about eBay. In fact, Matt, you'll probably remember a couple of times when we've been down to eBay HQ, if we ever mention the A word, they sort of squirm in their seats a little bit. They don't like us talking about Amazon. But actually, in the policy itself, they mention Amazon directly. Now, this is a curious one because, like I said, it seems to be Australia only. There's no... We couldn't find anything for .com, .co.uk. It
is, and I think this is like a timing thing. I think it's a timing for two that eBay have been very crafty in what they've been and done, is because they've got a timing thing with like big updates happening in the UK and US, and you've also got big updates like Amazon starting to spread out or to get into Australia. So as far as the timing things they've done is that they have slipped it out at the perfect time. And put it like almost underneath the radar, because I think I am actually going to agree with them as much as that I can see this affects a number of businesses across the globe which are using artificial or the price disparity between Amazon and eBay, for example, is that it isn't a positive experience. As me, let's put ourselves in the shoes of a customer. You'll have to excuse me, mate.
So yeah, it's a curious one for a number of reasons. And one of the interesting points, which I actually find quite interesting from the guidelines, Matt, is it actually says third-party fulfillment is not allowed if the order is being fulfilled from within Australia. So there's no rules against fulfilling from the UK, from the USA, from China, which is obviously a huge one for Australia. But if the product is physically in Australia, you are not allowed to use third-party fulfillment.
For third party, and they're very clear on this, third party fulfillment, which would cause confusion to the actual source of the order. And the reason for that is very simple. And I'm sure you already know this. If you buy off Amazon, you get a nice branded package as from Amazon. And if you use Amazon as a fulfillment center and they send their packages out on your behalf for an eBay order, they still send out the package with Amazon written on the side. Like, why would they not do that? It's their packaging and it's printed up for that. And that's the thing, is it's not a positive retail experience as far as eBay is concerned. And let's put ourselves, and this point I was trying to make just a few moments ago, let's put ourselves in the shoes of a customer, is that we have a package arrive and it's got Amazon splattered all over it, but it's for an eBay purchase. It doesn't kind of like sit right with you. It does cause confusion. And it also does make you wonder, could I have bought it cheaper from Amazon as well? So I understand why eBay are doing this. But on the flip side is that it does raise a big concern around third-party fulfillment, because unless it is literally brown box, no markings on there from the actual supplier, then it's, if you've got anything less than that, then, or anything more than that, should I say, is that it's not going to be allowed in Australia. Now, if they've slipped that out in Australia, does this mean we will see it in the UK, in Europe, in the United States?
And I think that's the curious one for me, because obviously the eBay are talking about, you know, the buyer experience and causing confusion with the customers, which I get. However, this has been going on eBay and .com for years. If they were genuinely that concerned, surely they'd be plugging the gap globally. They'd be plugging that issue globally. But no, it's tied in very nicely with the launch of Prime in Australia. And so obviously they are concerned about the Amazon effect in Australia, which they should be. But again, if they were that concerned, like I said, about causing customer confusion globally, this should be a global policy, not just a Australian one.
Yeah, I think this is very much one of the things which you need to keep an eye out for, especially if you are genuinely using Amazon for their fulfillment services, is that you could land yourself in hot water potentially in the near future for just using Amazon for fulfillment services for some of your eBay orders, which I know Amazon's not the cheapest for like fulfillment.
No.
By any stretch of the imagination, but, you know, excuse me.
Yeah, I mean, there are obviously much cheaper alternatives to FBA, but the cheaper alternatives do not have the direct link to the marketplace. So,
exactly.
You know,
you've already got your inventory in there, and you've got the odd order, which
all just works, doesn't it?
It just works. Yeah, it's like, well, you know what I mean. So that was the topic which I was like really itching to get out and share with you, because it does feel that there's been these two big updates going on, and underneath the table they've slipped this one out. And then what will happen is they'll say, previously in Australia, we released this thing, and then off you go. So anyway, let's move on into the updates. And I think, Dave, let's focus with the US first.
Okay.
And Dave, what would you say about the updates? How do you feel about overall for the updates for eBay? And by the way, do let us know what you think of the updates as far as eBay goes, and you can do that in the chat on the opposite that side of the screen as we're here live. So, Dave, what do you feel like generally for the overview?
So I genuinely feel that the overview from a buyer's point of view, it's a great update. You know, lots of good news for buyers. Totally get on board with that. For sellers, I would say it's largely a positive move. Yes, there was a couple of percentage of fee increases, but, and don't get, there's two ways of looking at this. For a seller, I think it was a positive update, although not a popular one. It's positive in terms of, well, firstly, they got rid of, in the UK, I'm not sure about US law, but in the UK, anybody offering you 14-day returns policy was illegal, as the Consumer Rights Act gives you the right to reject up to 30 days. So now eBay have pulled their returns policies in line with that, getting rid of 14-day and now giving you 30 and 60-day options. That's a good move. As a seller, you can't really complain about that. That's the law. As for delivery options, that's a little bit more tricky. For most people, I don't think it's an issue, but there's going to be a few sellers largely selling small and light things, which are going to fall through the gaps there regarding Royal Mail. Having to move to a fully tracked service, there's, you know, that there are a few sellers where that would be unpopular. The product catalog, is being rolled out so slowly, you know, with some very high brand name items, iPads, Dyson, Hoovers. It's not going to affect anybody right now. However, it is going to give us an insight into how this is going to look later on this year when they start expanding this out. That is good news because it gives us time to adapt, see how it works, how do we play the game, and learn from there. So, for me, the main point.
Just add into what you mentioned there. You said about the UK and having a 14-day return policy.
Yes. I imagine
about the United States. Actually, in the US, there's only a couple of options, and they basically fall down to no returns accepted, 30-day buyer pay, 30-day free returns, 60-day buyer pay, 60-day free returns.
Oh yeah, they're the eBay options. They basically mirror the UK. What I'm saying is we have a law, not an eBay policy, an actual law in the Consumer Rights Act, which states the right to reject within 30 days. I'm not sure if the US has that or not. Maybe Richard, you might have a clue as to that. I imagine they have something similar.
No, in the US, it's probably state dependent.
Oh yeah, Christ, yeah.
Right, Dave, I'm actually going to pass my views, which is that I'm really disappointed in eBay. It really. So genuinely disappointed, and the reason, and I want to make this very, very clear. Why am I disappointed? Mr. Devin Wayne went up and did a big talk about eBay moving to this catalog-based system, and everything was primed. Everybody had probably seen the updates, and if you haven't, check out esellercafe.com. And it was reported quite some time ago now about these updates, and everybody was primed for these updates to hit. And in short, they are very limp is the word which I'm looking for. Is the correct word. They're very, very small. It's Amazon Echo and Fire Sticks, iPads, iPhones, and TV. Some Dyson products, a Chromecast, a Jambox, Nest, the thermostat thing, and Roku, which I've never heard of.
I think they're an e-reader.
Why it's such a... If you think about the sheer breadth of products which is available on eBay today, is that they've just done like this thinnest little sliver here at the top. And if granted that Apple products, probably second-hand market, is huge and on eBay, but in the scheme of things, as far as the whole category tree goes, is that this is just like the thinnest, like scrape along the surface. So all this big hype which was made to what has turned into reality for phase one has been very disappointing for me because I think the iron was set to go, and they could have gone big with this update, and no, they've not. There could have been so many more categories which could have been, and I'm going to say this word, positively impacted by such a change, because remember, it will cause disruption, time of change, but those of you who adapt quickly and to whatever the eBay say the rules are for you to adapt to, then you will see the benefits of the changing with eBay as it's making it. But right now it's just so thin, and I'm just like really underwhelmed by these updates. And yeah, we had some fee increases, whatever, we just put those to the side for a moment. We had some category changes, but this product piece it was really, I felt, disappointing. It could have been a lot bigger than what it was. Now, I need to put this into perspective. What I'm going to do in the live chat, I'll put a link to you right now. It's to the eBay Seller Hub, and it's about inventory optimization. And basically, they're saying here, if you sell inventory in phase one products, which was like a small amount, honestly, they've just
20 items.
They're saying that today products are already available. That's fair enough. And then starting mid-March, you'll start seeing recommendations. By the end of April, you'll get forced into it. And then starting into May, that's the end of it. And off you go. And I feel that's so underwhelming to what it could have been, because the next big update is now not going to be until the fall. So autumn, so September. And so you're so close to Christmas. So they've done a tiny little update just to, I presume, just to stick the toe in the water to make sure things work as they expect, and to maybe make a better use case to you as an eBay seller later on this year. But the thing is that They haven't gone big now, which would have been almost like the perfect time of the year for the vast majority of businesses who sell on eBay. And instead, they're going to put it off now until September, which means that there's not all the stuff which you have normally going on in September, with now updates which you will want to hopefully want to change and adapt to as quickly as possible, so that you benefit through the busiest season of the year. And then it's going to be months after that until they catch up. So this deadline of 2019-ish, it says throughout 2018 and 2019. Well, that's now only 3 more updates to move to a product-based catalog. One of these is going to have to be really harsh, and I think they've missed a trick. And I feel that they've perhaps let us all down a little bit, because they haven't been been so deep in what they've been and done in stage 1, because we've only got autumn, spring, autumn, and then we're into 2020. And again, also putting all in his hand, it was disappointing, because we had that big talk about PayPal, and we're going to be our own payment provider, and we're going to have our own product pages and things like that. And this has been a bit limp, which was the right word. I
think for me that was another noticeable, exclusion from the update, is that there was no mention of payment in the UK update, and the USA update had the same press release about Adyen that had already been released. So there was no new information, even though, like I said, Devin for the past 2 weeks has been doing talks on Wall Street and the Goldman Sachs Tech Institute, talking about structured data and payment, and then the CEO from PayPal was saying something completely different. So there's just been no clarity about how this is all actually going to work together. And still we have no idea. And don't get me wrong, I said this in a video I did over on the Manc Entrepreneur channel, is that eBay need to get this right. They can't afford to fuck this up. And maybe that's why they're really, really taking this slowly, to really gauge reactions, slowly catchy monkey. But like you said, if they leave this till September, they're now in Magento territory, where it's like, oh, release new things on your busiest sales period, and run the risk of crippling thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of businesses.
Yeah. I think if there's one thing to take away, like a serious thing for you to take away from this update, is that when it comes to the autumn update, you need to be watching for that update like a hawk, because those changes, when they come in, we've got 3 more updates after this to do what they've clearly said, which is that eBay's moving to a product-based catalog, and they've skimmed, literally just done the thinnest little thread, skim off the top of the category tree for a small number of products. And I am fully aware Apple products are huge, but in comparison to the rest of the category tree, it is a little bit underwhelming. Now, obviously, we mentioned there were some fee increases. The one which springs to note is that if you're listing into 2 categories, and one of them, a final value fee is 8%, the other one is 9%. It doesn't matter which fee which category your customer buys from, whichever one has the highest final value fee, you'll get charged. That's just something for you to be wary of, okay? So if you had one at 8% and the other at 9%, it would only be 1% more. But if you had one at 8%, another one at 12%, it would be quite a difference. So just for something for you to be aware of when the other listed. And also, I just want to put my foot hand down on put my hand up for the record. Say for the record, I still feel it is beneficial for you to list into 2 categories, because you have 80-20 rule. 80% of people search, and even 20% people just browse. But if you're in 2 different categories, you've just doubled your chance of making a sell. So just look out for disparity. And for the record, I do feel that double categorization is better, but you just now need to be very careful of that. Especially if there's a massive price disparity between the product. I think
also, Matt, the point where they said that if you actually fall below standard, you'll get charged an additional 4%.
This is brilliant. So
I think that's a really good one.
I'll read this out. For sellers whose level is below standard, okay, will be an additional 4 percentage points fee on the standard final value fees for the at the time the item sells. For example, a final value fee would increase from 8 to 12%, and then they add a note at the end. Above standard and eBay top rated sellers will not be affected by this change. And to be frankly honest, Dave, if you've got an account which is below standard, and they're going to charge you an extra 4%, they're probably charging an extra 4% because they know that you're going to cause the customers quite a bit of grief.
Exactly.
Which one, if you think about this logically, you have top rated and we'll say above standard sellers. Good guys, you, okay? And then you have this other person who is below standard. Which one do you think is going to cause you the biggest problem? And which one's going to cause eBay the biggest problem? Which one's going to cause potentially your customer the biggest problem? Yeah, I'm afraid to say it's that one. So are they being unfair to charge them 4% extra? Probably not, to be honest.
No, I think it's a really good move.
We mentioned a moment ago, 80% of your grief is going to come from
the below standard guys. And I think I actually, when this came out, I thought, geez, that might be a bit harsh, you know, if you had that sort of that bad month of bad feedbacks and, you know, maybe a listing went wrong, you fall below standard. But then it was actually Chris Astley reminded me, if you're top rated, I think they give you a 3-month grace period before they drop you below standard in order to prove that, you know, that was just a bit of a, you know, an error happened. We're not that bad. So actually, yeah, no, you know, if you're going to get below standard, you have to consistently be messing things up. In which case, yeah, you should be penalized for it.
I think it's very amusing. They've been and done it. They've been and finally done something like that. And again, we need to put this into perspective, because if you were below standard on Amazon, they would have gone like that off, and that's it. You're out the door, and you ain't never coming back. So at least you stand. And again, let's put ourselves. You have gone to below standard for whatever reason, and maybe 2 sacks of mail got nicked, something terrible, an event like that. Is at least with eBay, you stand a chance. Amazon, and you're gone, and you're out the door, and there's no chance. So, I'm not. That won't affect 99. Well, pretty much. Hopefully, none of you which are watching this. In short, so
no.
Bit amusing one, which is about. but not unwelcomed. To be honest,
I think
we've got to be honest there. It's not an unwelcome one, and again, because the reality is, it's not going to.
The only people who are going to be affected by that are the bad sellers. So, you know, that's what it is. You guys should not have to worry about that.
Indeed. Now, as far as the rest of the updates, though, we had some shipping enhancements, didn't we, for the US, which went through.
That's the thing. I think the rest of the update was just a little bit vanilla, really. There wasn't much in the terms of good details. Shipping enhancements.
Oh, they tried to play the eBay store banjo.
Oh yeah,
which is one of those things which is that we just like to put the fees up because we make shed loads of money from it.
It's their money.
And by the way, eBay make a stupid amount of money from eBay shop descriptions. Don't granted, you maybe some of the benefits which you get now today are way better than what I used to get. For example, like going back too many years, and it could be classed as better value for money. But when you count up how many eBay stores there are, and you take a guess on how many anchor to featured to basic shops there are, and I did this a couple of years back, and I actually went through and worked out all the numbers for it. It is a ridiculous amount of money, which eBay gets every single month just from shop subscriptions. Yeah, the new experience will be active content free, which is rubbish because eBay do use active content in their own eBay stores, and HTTPS friendly. Well, great. And it's, I don't know. The eBay store could, I've always said this, Dave, the eBay store could always have been and should have been something so much more than what it is out there today. And it'll be nice when it does get the focus which it deserves, because
I think part of me is a little bit sad with the changes they're making to shops, because I always felt that was the place where it allowed a seller to get their personality across. It was like their own little website on eBay, Amazon don't let you do that. So again, it was another thing that eBay had, which differentiated them from Amazon. And yeah, so I mean, there's loads of crap ones out there. We've all seen the crap templates and the crap this, that, and the other, and the Chinese sellers with the multicolored writing, and you're like, ugh. But those people who did it very well, I think it actually made eBay descriptions a useful thing, a good way of displaying information. And I think it just might just get a little bit boring now.
Yeah, absolutely. And remember, just for a history lesson here, that is that Amazon did have something called Z stores, which were terrible, absolutely terrible. And thank goodness they died a death.
And they got rid of that.
Oh, that was really bad. But yeah, eBay stores is just whatever. It is a bit of a non-starter, to be short. There were some changes as far as shipping, which went on in the United Kingdom. Like Dave said, there's no longer 14 days, there's only 30 days, which was a legal requirement anyway. And besides that, that was it, really.
Just talk it quickly. I think one of the big things for me was, and this was something, again, I was chatting to Richard about, is that in the US, they introduced 2 new store categories. So they have the starter store, which is $4.95 a month.
I must have missed that, Dave. I'm having a look right now.
All right, yeah. They have a starter store. So rather than you've got your eBay stores, you've got your basic, featured, and anchor. They're the 3 that we've had for a long time. On the US, they've now introduced starter store, which is $4.95 a month if you pay yearly, or $7.95 a month if you're monthly, and that gives you 100 free 0 insertion fee listings. Now they also have the enterprise store, which is incredible. This works out at $3,000 a month as a yearly subscription for 100,000 fixed price 0 insertion fee listings.
Yeah, apologies. I did see that. I didn't interpret it that way. Yeah, $3,000 a month.
Yeah.
Subscription. It says yearly subscription, but no, it's $3,000 per month.
Yeah,
which is about $2,000 for those of you in the United Kingdom, which is a lot of beers. But you do get 100,000 fixed price listings, and then there was add-ons as well. Yeah, oh, there you go. Yeah, 10,000 additional 0 insertion fees for $250, or 50,000 additional inserts for $1,000 a month. Which I don't know. If you've got that amount of inventory,
if you're doing those numbers, then that must work out as a good deal to you, is what I'm saying. But it's hard to think that that is an incredible amount of money. But like I said, Richard made a point, is that there must be an audience for that. Otherwise, they wouldn't bother bringing it out. There must be sellers of that level with that inventory. Otherwise, there'd be no point in it. And of course, I imagine the enterprise guys will get Concierge, like Anchor Store is now getting as well. Which is it? Is that worth the increase in the Anchor Store? I think Anchor Store's gone up to like £100 and something a year. Some people are wondering whether the Concierge is worth it or not. Don't really know. It's quite nice to have a direct line to eBay. Don't get me wrong. I remember that in the glory days. It was very useful. But yeah, and it isn't promised to every Anchor Store owner. You have to still tick some boxes somewhere.
Okay, just looking at your chat, which has been going along with today's live mastermind, which is that Richard from Easter Cafe has mentioned. Remember, there are summer updates now, at least in the United States. So, okay, we have like 5 more updates. Potentially if you're in the US. Hobbybase says, I'm hoping by 2019 my web sales will have sailed past eBay anyway. I just roll with the punches on eBay. Not much I can do, as we're all in the same boat here. And the same with Nick saying, banging head against the wall, is eBay a ship sinking? No, I think let's just face it. eBay is not going away anytime soon. And if we are in the middle of eBay slowly going into a demise, is that this is going to take years to take effect. Okay, like another 10. Like, depends. If it really goes off a cliff, it'll be sooner. But assuming that they have some level of competence, if we are in a decline, it will get dragged out over a period of time. It won't happen instantly. Has been no real major competitor to eBay or Amazon, besides the ones which have been kicking around for a long time anyway. Alibaba is a prime example. That's it. And
everyone thought Tesco would be the one, and they've just done nothing.
Yeah, they've done nothing. That was always a big disappointment.
Yeah.
Just from personal experience, those of you which don't know the background to this, last year I did a year on YouTube, and I would personally say that YouTube is the third marketplace. From my experiences with YouTube specifically, I think we did $380,000 worth of gross sales in 15 or so months. Absolute crazy numbers. It literally just went up. It's just been nuts. In short, absolute crazy experience. So I would personally say that YouTube is the third marketplace, but I also do appreciate not many of you like potentially putting your face on camera or feel that it's complicated when in reality it's not. We've had many conversations about this previously, so just to put that into perspective, there is a lot of growth in eBay. It's just changing. Even Etsy is talking about structured data, so this is the future. Good point there, Richard. Thank you.
I think the more that we see voice coming into play here, the need for structured data is just overwhelming. It's like eBay now needs to catalog in order to do what Alexa and Amazon are doing so well. And that is the reality. They're thinking ahead. Voice commerce right now, people are laughing about it, think, oh yeah, it's a novelty. In reality, it is most likely going to be the mobile revolution.
Did you see that there was a complaint made to the Advertising Standards Authority in the UK that about Amazon's voice ordering through Alexa? Someone put a complaint in that they felt it was unjust that you could say Alexa and then order XYZ, some deodorant or something like that, and then it would turn up at your door. Obviously, this bloke or woman didn't actually own the device, because they would have then known that you have to authorize the order in your account, otherwise it just gets deleted or trashed. And I find that absolutely hilarious. So sorry to come back on.
No, it's true, because a friend of mine was saying, like, one night he had a party at his house. Without him knowing, all of his friends, they'd ordered condoms, sex toy, handcuffs through his Alexa device. But obviously, he then had to go in and authorize it. And he showed me the picture. This is what these added to my shopping list. And so, yeah, it doesn't do it automatically. But that is the direction that we're heading in. You know, who knows what safeguards they put in? Could voice detection? Could it only order if it hears your voice? You know, who knows?
Yeah, it is very, 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 very much a curious one, and we're steering ourselves back on the topic.
Structured data is a good thing. Really.
It always has been a big requirement. It always has been a big challenge for any business owner. I know from my own experiences that the way which I personally view e-commerce is very simple. You just provide great quality information so that the customer can make an informed decision whether the product's the right one for them or not. Now, great product data, product information does include structured data such as an EAN, barcode, UPC, whatever, and other item specifics, so that the item can get found. Because remember, you've got to help the customer find the product, and it is a overall thing. It's not one magic thing. Structured data is just a buzzword for fill the data out which you need to fill out. And hey, I do feel a little bit underwhelmed on this update, because it was only a small number of categories were affected by the product updates or structured data update. It could have been far, far more reaching, and it does cause a bit of a red flag for us later this year.
Yeah,
so if you're in the US, if you're in the US and you get a summer release, definitely look out for that one. Autumn release, if it's going to come out in September right before Christmas, is going to be a bit of a concern. Because eBay have been very clear in what they've said about structured data, and they're moving to a catalog, and this update has been very limp in what it's been done. It does raise grave concerns about what's going to be impacted in later updates. whether it's middle of this year, later this year, or into next year. But we only have a small number of updates to push to make big changes across many categories. It is a bit of a concern. Just looking at Richard's comments on there, there's already a voice recognition system. Amazon commercials already do not trigger Alexa. Yeah, so if you've got an advert on the TV, your Alexa unit isn't going to pick up that on there. They seem to indicate devices can recognize some voice patterns. Yeah, I think time will come for the voice recognition to get stronger or more developed. Hey, we're at the point in time when they've actually got a device which can be in your home and it can recognize what you're saying. For it to then to be able to recognize different voices or different tones, and it will improve. That's for sure. So anyway, Dave, getting ourselves back onto the eBay updates. But for me, like I've mentioned a couple of times, disappointed. Could have been so much more. And everything else around the outside is a bit more cursory. You know, when eBay don't have much to talk about as far as updates, because they'll stick an eBay store update in there. And oh yeah, we're putting the fees up as well. It's part of it. So any other thoughts on that one, Dave, before we wrap up?
No, I don't think so. I think that's pretty much all the major things we talked about. Obviously, product catalog was the big one, but also the disappointing ones. Delivering returns is what it is. Talks about updates to the marketing tools. Seller hubs changing what they do. It's nothing really major. Like you say, it is what it is. And I think, as James said, we're all in the same boat, but the ones who win are the ones who adapt, and the ones who complain are the ones who sadly lose. So it's a case of we're playing with eBay's back garden. You've got to abide by their rules, and at least eBay are good enough to tell you what the rule changes are going to be a few months in advance. Yeah,
we always got to keep that one in the back of our minds. Now, thanks to Mike and Liz. Howdy, whenever I arrive late and rush in, keep thinking Matt has been morphed into the Wix advert.
Oh, that's how she's a model.
Actually, if she looks like me with no hair, I'm a little bit concerned. Hey-ho. I've just been to put a link to the eSeller Cafe, the link to the Amazon basically eBay now banning you, if you're in Australia, from using Amazon Fulfilment within Australia. That was the one thing which came out at the same time as the update. So you had eBay US, eBay UK updates come out, and they slipped this one out in Australia. Very, very, very curious. So do go and take a look at that one. And do be aware of that if you are using, or maybe perhaps intend to use Amazon FBA for the non-Amazon orders in the future, maybe later this year. It could become a little bit touch and go when it comes as far as eBay. Whether they morph it to the other sites, we don't know yet. But if they've done it in one site, they have kind of set precedents, which it could be then moved to other sites as well. Right. With that said, if we all have missed something which you have been seeing in the latest eBay updates for spring 2018 and want to share with others, you can do that down in the comment section underneath this video. If you have enjoyed today's live session, do us a favor and hit the thumbs up. Remember, if you have any questions, there's no such thing as a daft question if you don't know the answer. And again, you can just ask in the comment section underneath this video. Links and more information about the updates are over on esellercafe.com. We're putting links to those articles in the video description for you. And besides that, just a friendly reminder, every Tuesday, 3 p.m. UK time, we hold a weekly mastermind. And Dave, what's the topic for next week? Is it going to be scraping, perhaps? I don't know. I'm
tempted to leave that one for when I'm not here.
You're not here? Right.
I'm not here in 2 weeks' time. So I'm not sure. Next week is supposed to be dissecting an Amazon listing. But since scraping is... I know nothing about that. Maybe that's one you can do while I'm not here.
Okay, all right. So next week we'll be dissecting an Amazon listing. Okay, and we want to stress this one from. We are going to be covering the basics, and there's nothing wrong with covering the basics, because if you get the basics right, really can't go wrong. To be honest.
What's nice about Amazon is that we can actually point out some very, very good examples of Amazon listings.
Yes,
On
absolutely.
eBay,
For those of you who joined in for the perfect eBay listing 2 weeks and maybe 3 weeks ago,
a while ago,
we can't tell you of a perfect eBay listing. For as far as we're concerned, they just don't exist. You may be able to prove us wrong. But when it comes to Amazon, I can tell you 2 immediately straight off my head, and we'll look at why those are so good as they are. And then the week following, while Dave's away, we will be discussing the topic of scraping and what that is, how you can get potentially product data, pricing data, inventory data from third-party websites, which they may be suppliers, they may be competitors, for example. We'll discuss like the why and potentially the how as well. Even known to perhaps maybe knock up a little sample code as well, so you can see how really easy it is to do. And then maybe we'll discuss some of all the complexities of maybe doing this over time as well, because getting something to run once is relatively easy. Getting something to run every single day and be robust is actually a different, whole different ballpark. So
I think on that note as well, I just want to add that the actual scraping suggestion came in from Mike and Liz over on the UnderstandingE Facebook group, over on UnderstandingE members group. The link to that is down below. So again, if you've got any suggestions of ideas of things you'd like us to talk about, that is a fantastic example of that coming to life. So again, make sure you're in the group. Like I said, link is in the description below. And yeah, if ever you have any suggestions of things you'd like me or specifically Matt to talk about, then by all means throw them in there. And if we think we can do them justice, then we will.
Happy days. Right, on that note, from myself, Matt.
And from me, Dave.
Cheerios.
See you next week, guys.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.